Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of three opinionated guys with mics and too much free time. Strong enough to stop a speeding movie rumor, more powerful than a bad comic book event, able to waste hours of time asking stupid questions to people who have better things to do. It's Dave, Ben, and John. It's Superhero Speak.
We actually had a tornado here where I live, because I'm in Coatesville, and Honeybrook, which is only about 7 or 8 miles away or so, they had a tornado touch down only 2 weeks ago. And we've had like several tornado warnings this summer so far already.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it
there
is?
You go, bragging again, John.
It's change. Oh, there you go. It's change in the air pressure and because I've been noticing a lot of, I mean, all you got to do is watch the news, and there's like strange weather going on all over the country. You know, they need to redefine the seasons. They need to redefine the way that they approach weather. Everything kind of slid, and now what's happening is we're getting like a greenhouse effect on one part of the country. We're getting droughts in abnormal areas, etc. And I think that it just, we need a redefinition of everything.
Yeah. It's definitely headed that way.
Well, you know what it is we can't adhere to old principles if it's going to, if it, you know, it'd be like saying, for example, we had no daylight savings time. Mm-hmm. So wake up at like 4 a.m. and it's sunny out, but it doesn't get like that every day of the year. So if we can have daylight savings time, which is a redefinition as it is, we should be able to redefine when the seasons start. I love it when they say, oh, tomorrow's the first day of summer, and I'm looking out the window and there's still snow on the ground.
Yes.
Whose right idea was that?
For those that are just joining us, this is the Amateur Meteorological Society.
So should we do an official start?
I thought I just did.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
That's all I was paid for, guys. Listen, thank you very much. You can edit that any way you want, including a couple of Howard Stern fart noises, and I'll see you later.
You're not getting away that easily.
No.
That's what my wife said. 17 years later, here I am.
I need to go to bed some point, so I don't think this is going to last that long.
That's what she said on the honeymoon, too.
Oh, man.
I didn't know he was there.
Wow.
All right. So, for those who haven't figured it out, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host, Dave.
And John.
And we have with us a special guest host with us this week, returning again, because we just can't get rid of him, is Brad from Firestorm Comics.
You'll never get the photos.
And our special guest this week has been a fixture in comic books since 1978. He's worked for Marvel, DC, Big Bang, Image, Heavy Metal. He's also worked on films such as the Heavy Metal movie, Spider-Man 2 and 3, and Captain America. And he now is working on his own comic, Mac and Trouble, and he's gonna, tell us all about his wonderful career. So everyone, please welcome Rusty Gilligan to the show. How are you, sir?
That guy sounds talented. I wish he was here. So how are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good, I think. Other than, as we were saying, the wild weather that we've been having.
Yeah, they hired me to interview you guys, but I really didn't read anything up about you. So let's just generate something brand new here. So I hear you have a podcast.
Oh yeah,
that is awesome, and you function in the comic book industry. That is just great. That is just great. And now for news and weather.
Nice.
So Rusty, I'm gonna ask you as how we usually start these kind of things off. How did you get started? Did you always want to be an artist? How did that come about?
It's funny. A lot of times people will say, well, they'll start off their story. When I was a kid, I used to draw all the time, and I never did. And people will say, like, I went to a museum and I saw this painting on the wall and it just opened up my inner eye. And to me, I went to the museum and I was looking for the naked cavemen and the dinosaurs eating somebody. So
Leave
to
my
me,
epiphany alone.
I had no aspirations at all with it. And I started out actually as a child actor, and I had done a Broadway play and I had done tons of commercials and whatever, and just loved comics. My first ones were Archie and some of the original Marvels, and I just loved it. And moved to California, only child, no dad, blah blah blah. And one day just snuck out to the supermarket and found an Adventure Comics, and it was funny, The Secret of Perry White's Super Cigars, and decided this looks like it could be something for me. And defying every other story, it was basically using tracing paper and then emulating a couple of smiles and a couple of grins on paper and silly putty. And a couple of years later, I started just freehanding stuff. And I got my first official job. Believe it or not, I was in L.A. And I was doing an interview, and they would do cattle call interviews way back then. They'd call in like 100 kids, and they'd be like, "Oh, we want redhead with freckles, blah blah blah." Well, that was my gin and tonic, because that's exactly what I did. And they brought me in and do the commercial, and while I was sitting on the floor learning my lines before I got to the casting guy, Stan Lee walked out of one of the offices there, and at the time, Stan was just as big as the Hulk or Iron Man. It was all Excelsior and True Believer.
Right.
So we all, and I'm like, oh my God, you're him. And he's right, that's me. And I just threw my script down and got to talking to him. And my mother was a big supporter, and she showed me, oh, you still have artwork in the car, you should show it to him, like anybody, dance for the man, dance. So I brought it out, the artwork, and he actually signed the back of one of my character pictures. And he goes, this is really good. I like working with young people, and told me the story of, different people that he's worked with. And he goes, call us up like however long, and I've got something you might be able to get a part of. And I wound up doing a couple of pieces for one of the Marvel UK books, and went on to do some ad art and things like that. And then a couple of years later, everybody goes through a dry spell. You get one big job, and then you literally sit there on your haunches waiting for something, and then boom, you get a next big job. And that's when I started working on the heavy metal film. But it was a thrill meeting him and knowing him for years after. A great guy, more than just what people think. Everybody says, oh, what a visionary, or, oh, what a mind. He wrote this and blah, blah, blah. And now people are, oh, he charges too much for autographs and takes credit from every. But I knew him as a friend, and, he was really cool for a long time. It was amazing to see his name in a book while you knew him behind the scenes,
Right. Yes. And I think the important lesson everyone should take from that story is that it's always a good thing to kiss up to Stan Lee. So
that's right. He was a lot taller, so it was kiss up on a step stool. But I think the thing that anybody should take from any story that they hear in comics is it's right place, right time. Because with the internet now, you could shove a picture under a million noses. But back then, there wasn't anything like that. This was the late 70s, and there was nothing. No fax machines, cell phones, no overnight, no nothing. Not even a Xerox machine technically in sight. So we would literally run around and look for every opportunity. We'd carry all of our art in our satchels. We'd practically live on peanut butter sandwiches. We'd travel from San Diego Comic-Con to some other Comic-Con to some other Comic-Con in the hopes that, we would get a discovered piece or someone would discover us. And every time they said, oh, put your work in front of a Marvel employee and get your portfolio reviewed, We always knew that was a bear trap waiting to slam on you, but it was worth it. Not very many people got their portfolio reviewed and got a good response. Oh, that looks good. I really like the way you screwed up that muscle on that arm. Let's hire you. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I was lucky. I was lucky. I'm obviously not big like like any of their huge guys. But I was lucky to get anything that I had gotten. I still consider myself lucky now, but it was fun. It was a fun ride when you're a kid, and I was quite young.
Right. Well, it's true what you say about with the internet nowadays. You can get out to 1 million people, but still, again, the right person has to see it when you send it out on the internet.
Yeah, I was going to say it. It sounds like it was kind of offset. Yeah, you had to bring your stuff around, I guess, in the old days and shove it under people's noses, but not a lot of people could take that time out to do that. So there were a lot less people for them to pick from. Nowadays, yeah, they can go online and find it, but they got to look at 1 million people.
Right.
So
you know what I kind of find? I kind of find when you're on the internet, and I do every once in a while, I do a panel at shows, which is, better than this because then you could see me and get sick rather than hear me and get sick all the time. But when I do panels and stuff, I usually tell people now that you've got the internet, there's more of a grasp. There's more skin in the game, and you can be a great artist and then talk about the recent Confederate flag thing, and 50 people just unfriend you on Facebook or whatever, and that just screws your audience. So you have to be like, the perfect artist with the perfect friendship and blah, blah, blah. But the one thing I tell people is you have to endear yourself to your crowd. You have to be just as big and just as bold as the things that you're drawing.
Right.
And you have to let people know, hey, you're the rocker, or you're the country guy, or whatever. It was just like when I was wrestling. You had to literally pick an alliance, walk out, and just put it out in front of like 20,000 people or 10,000 or whatever. So when I do artwork, I post stuff on my Facebook because I love Facebook, and that's no hidden secret. But I post stuff on there. I post stuff about my cats, about my kids, and I portray the whole family man thing, which I really enjoy. And I put my artwork up there, and I'm working on a project, and I'm going to be doing a signing tomorrow, and yada, yada, yada. But you've got to endear yourself to the fans.
Right.
If you draw Superman, you got to market yourself like you are Superman. Otherwise, what's happening is anybody can draw an arm and a leg or a set of tatas. Nobody gives a damn about that. But what they do care about, I think, is the backstory now. First it went from a hidden industry. Then there was a lot of marks that basically told all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes.
Right.
Now it's so open, you have to sell yourself.
That's true.
I mean, how many of the webcomics and whatever Drek do you see online, and they're stick figures or squares talking to circles or clip art or whatever, and they're making hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, through playthrough on the internet. That's good art. There's good art.
XKCDs, was it Sluggy and there's a whole bunch more, and they're all doing very well, and it's all because the internet. Otherwise, they probably never would have gotten paid for what they do.
Right.
God bless them, because they keep erasers in business on the opposite side of the pencil.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. You really don't need. You need storytelling ability now, and whatever. Even if you're just having one dot talk to another dot, you need storytelling ability, because that's what people are looking for.
Right. So you mentioned your wrestling career.
Yeah.
Which
I missed that.
Which shocked me. I didn't know that about you when I was looking you up online. So can you tell us a little bit about that? How that came about? And
well, there were a few punches and there were a few kicks. I hit the mat. What more is there to say? Rinse and repeat. When I was always a scrawny kid, so when I was in college, I started to do some boxing. I went to Los Angeles Valley College in California, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really a boxer. And I started, like everybody, if you start boxing and you start feeling your hips move, or you start feeling your legs moving a little bit more than normal, you're not meant to box, because I didn't stand still. They must have thought I was doing the waltz with this guy. So I had a heavyset gentleman come up to me out of the blue, and I didn't even know who he was. And he goes, you're definitely not a boxer. And I'm like, thanks very much. Want my autograph, And he's, come with me, kid. He says, and I'll show you some real stuff. So I found out later on it was Dr. Jerry Graham, which was superstar Billy Graham's uncle.
Oh.
And Dr. Jerry Graham was I'm sorry, he was one of the best guys I ever met in the industry. Taught me how to wrestle, taught me some moves. I wrestled with a number of great individuals at the time. Worked with people like Herb Nero, who used to be an announcer and a money man for the WWF at the time before it was an E. It was F before it was E. Remember that? And but it was great, and I did a lot of on-camera work, and I loved wrestling. I wrestled all across the country, and enjoyed it. And some of my biggest matches were I was in Utah in front of a 50,000 crowd. I got to wrestle once at Madison Square Garden, once at the Sportatorium in Dallas. I was very lucky. Again, it's right place, right time. He could have come on another night, or he could have sneezed and missed my match and never seen me.
Right.
So, that's just the way it is.
And any major injuries or anything while you were doing that?
I was champion of the USWA for a year and a half, and I was champion of the CWL, which was a partner. I wrestled in a number of battle royals with a lot of famous people, which was really nice, and got to know a lot of the guys behind the scenes. Kept in touch with a lot of wrestlers over the years. What put me out was I tore the rotator cuff in my left shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And it was literally like flicking a light switch. It's like, pick him up, throw him, ow, and that's the end.
Right.
And that was it. There's nothing you could do about it. Some guys have it and they get rebuilt, and we can make him stronger and run faster. Except that, unfortunately, my insurance was more like a toothpick, a piece of tape. He's okay. And that's the way it goes. You see guys like on the WWE, like John Cena, let's say, or The Rock, and they have an injury. Of course, they're being taken care of. But you'd play the little leagues. You don't get like that. It's like rub some dirt on it and walk around and
right.
So,
walk it off.
Yeah, that's about it. My arm is hanging by a vein. Use a stapler. And
injuries not in your policy.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. We don't cover that. We don't cover that. But I was in Vegas one time, and we were in a tag team tournament, which was great. And it was Afa and Seika, the Samoans. They're the uncles and relatives that hung around with, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And on and on and on. Great guys. And we went all the way to the finals of this tournament. And my partner at the time, great name. His name was Ed Venture, because he was an adventure. And but he took us right to the end, and then he strained his back picking one of them up. And if you've ever seen the Samoans, they're not lightweights. Let me tell you, they don't work for Subway. And he picked up one, strained his back, and said, I'm done. And they're looking around, and the referee's looking around. Nobody knows what to do. So they just pinned him, and that was the end, because obviously the audience doesn't take a moment for silence lightly.
Right.
And that was it. I just said, you know what, that's the end. I'm going to go back into comics full time, because I couldn't stand sharing half of my day, doing comics in a locker room, or doing comics on a train, or in a hotel room in the corner, because I was sharing it with other guys, whatever.
Right.
And at the time I was doing a lot of comic work, but it was all, the behind the scenes stuff. I was doing, production work for a movie, or I was doing ad design, and I worked a ton of time in trading cards, and that was quite lucrative for a long time. And then someone rang the bell, and the 90s ended, and that was the end of cards.
That's so true.
I told you guys. See there? Nobody listens to me.
That's it.
Well, it was the end of those trading cards, and then they came out with, Magic the Gathering and the Pokemon cards and all that.
Yeah, but those don't count.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
All the
don't tell
card
that
play-
to my kids.
I started to say all the card players listening just went, "This show's over, man.
Yeah.
Get the truck."
Nice.
Let's storm the studio, man. But
Good luck in
it was-
finding me.
it was the 80s and the 90s was not really a comic and trading card thing. It wasn't a collectibles thing. It was
Yeah.
the battle of the printers. That's really what it was. A lot of pros will tell you, oh, well, yeah, we had a great comic book, and we launched this comic book from our garage, and we met this guy at a show, and he did some, whatever. It was really the battle of printers. A printer would come out and
Absolutely.
say, we could do trading cards cheaper than the next guy. How much? Oh, 5 cents cheaper than the other guy. Oh, well, hell, let's put together a set. And they go look for public domain images, and first there was Betty Page, and then there was, draw toxic monsters, and I worked on a set about the apostles and Jesus, and can't get much more public domain than that, I guess. God help me. And it was like, there was just flood the market with cards, and it got to be a strong market after a while, which I'm grateful for because I actually really liked cards. But the thing is that it was a strange offshoot. It was kind of like a lame cousin to comics because people were making comics on, copiers. Everybody was like, oh, I made that on as an ash can on purpose because that looks just great. Look at the quality of that black and white Xerox folded over. I meant to do that, but that's really what it was. It was just a battle of the printers. And when the distribution ran out, everything just kind of died, which is a shame.
Right. Oh, yeah. Huh.
What could have possibly happened there, though? We can't say anything.
Yeah.
Diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, I think it's all your fault.
I know. I think Diamond was. I think Diamond was at fault partially, and I think that there's a lot of other companies that kind of contributed to it. The problem with a balloon is for it to get big, it needs air, and a lot of people supplied air to Diamond. I wasn't happy with the idea that I was losing the Family Five because it was Diamond, Capital City, Friendly Frank, Styx in Canada, and then Ron Haas had Comics Hawaii, and they were fantastic buyers. Sometimes you'd get an order of 1, sometimes you get an order of 100, and we owned a magazine and we were doing really well. And then all of a sudden the bottom just dropped out. So, like I said, every balloon needs air, and everybody just filled Diamond with air. Capital wasn't doing exclusive trading cards, shrink wrapped with whatever, and let's do special catalogs and on and on and on. Diamond was literally calling themselves almost like a second Wizard magazine and putting it out. And then people were getting the catalogs for free, and they were becoming collectible, which was odd because who the hell keeps a catalog, And except for the JCPenney ones I have in the bathroom, but we don't say anything.
Warning, family show. Warning.
You need something to read in there, I mean, it's...
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Hey, back then you didn't even have bulletin boards to sign into, so...
Yeah, I remember we used to do keyword comics on AOL, and you would sign into the comics area.
Yeah.
Terribly funny.
Yep.
Gosh.
You guys are all dating yourself.
Yes.
Well, hey, man, you have to hang with it. It was the sign of the times. AOL.
Uh-oh.
No, that's okay. He does this.
Yeah, Brad drops out every once in a while.
Usually just as he's about to say something
Yeah,
profound.
I know. I just waited. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. There's a thunderstorm overhead. I knew it. I was just like, uh-huh. But what I was saying was the AOL 1.0 disc, the little clear plastic cover hit with the little yellow guy running on it. Man, when that 1.0 disc hit my mailbox, I went ballistic. So, the AOL craze was it then because those forums were awesome.
With your 2400 baud modem, and you'd be sitting there for like 10 minutes. This is the fastest crap ever.
See,
man. See, I had the 56K.
That's luxury. I used to have a 300 baud modem where you had to take the phone and put it into the cradle.
Oh, wow.
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 Boys and girls, what these guys are talking about is in the old days, you used to have to use the phone lines to go online. You couldn't just pick up your cell phone and go onto Facebook or Twitter. And
And if
was
somebody
called
in the house picked
intranet
up the,
back then.
if somebody in the house tried to pick up the phone while you were on the phone using it, it completely blew everything. It took a half an hour to get back into the internet.
Oh man,
That's right.
uh,
I remember reel-to-reels, and I remember the cassettes, and I remember programming a game on the Atari 2600, I think it was,
yep.
and Atari computers. I
And
don't
see,
know,
I
man.
guarantee you, I'm the youngest
The
guy in this
78.
group, and I still feel really old right now.
we're the Council of Angry Old Men.
Oh
Yes.
man,
Is it okay if I ask? I am dying to hear what it was like to work on heavy metal.
Well, it was odd because it was. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It was very distancing. I guess that's the best way to put it, because I wasn't really in the studio. A lot of what happened in Canada, and I would get calls. I had an agent at the time, which was, by the way, big mistake. Any artist out there, do never get an agent or a manager, because that's just one sponge that you don't need. But I had an agent, and the agent said, "Would you like to do some production work?" And I said, "Sure." "Well, you're going to be getting a call. Producer's going to talk to you and fill you in, blah, blah, blah." And you have to understand the time. It was literally 1980, 81, 82. There was, calling Canada for $3.09 a minute.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even call the second phone in your house without a 10-cent a minute charge.
right.
And blah, blah, blah. So the guy the producer would call up, and he'd be like, is Rusty there? And I'd be, "Yeah, that's me." "All right, I have to talk fast because we can't afford this big budget, blah, 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 for the phones. And we have this movie that we're working on. It's got a lot of rock in it, and we're interested in doing," and he'd just go on and on. And I'd be like, "Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Are you interested?" "Yes." "All right, I'll call you back tomorrow. Bye." And I would get a call, and it'd be like, "We're going to send you some stuff. It's got whatever skulls, and it's got zombies. You like zombies? Well, it doesn't matter anyway. Bye." And I'd get a thing in the mail, a packet in the mail, and it would be like a bunch of, literally, it was some really beautiful art. And there would be a combination of some photos people would draw on them with wax pencils, which was very common in the entertainment industry at the time. And I just took off on it. I used a lot of overlays and drew my version of zombies, and I went with their version, and slowly we met in the middle, and I sent them what I had, and it would be literally, they'd send it on Monday the 1st, I'd probably get it on the 14th, with 3 anxious, nervous phone calls just before because I didn't get it quick enough. Then I would do the work and send it back, and it would literally be like a month process to get approved, where now you can literally 12 o'clock, do the work, scan it, send it back at 1 o'clock. By email, it's approved. And we went back and forth like this for a couple of months. Finally, I put together stuff, and I found out that it was part of the B-17 sequence where the World War II plane was being chased by the Green Orb. And
Oh yeah.
I loved that. That was my big thing. And after that, I just started getting a lot of jobs that came with zombies and the undead and whatever, which is great because I actually like it, where some people turn around and say, "Oh, I've been typecast. I don't want to, I don't want to draw boobs anymore. I'd rather draw, donkeys." Okay, dude, whatever. You can sit there until your light bill comes due and then sit in the dark. But I just took whatever came. So they did a Dawn of the Dead book, and I wound up doing some artwork for that. And I did stuff for a number of undead type projects. And I just I rested on that for a while until I started getting work. I worked in. After that, I started doing some ad art for Comic Spires Guide, and that was a great magazine / newspaper at the time. Giant newspaper. I mean, it was
Awesome gig, man.
yeah, it was huge. It was like a paper shop, but it was the size of a newspaper, like what the Inquirer first started out as. Mm-hmm. And it was huge, and I would draw all kinds of characters and slip them in, because there was no such thing as comic book clip art. And people, unless they were showing a cover of a book that they sold, you couldn't really just pop Superman out and put him in, into the ads. So I remember doing pieces for that and had a great time. And then I started writing because that was just the next new thing for me. And I started writing for a lot of the publications.
Yeah,
but
it's funny when you talk about how you had to talk to them for a little bit on each phone, each night on the phone, and they would send you stuff and you send stuff back and blah blah. People don't. That's another thing people don't remember is like how hard it was to get stuff like that done. It almost makes you wonder, how did cartoons like that get made? Because there was so much,
They were lucky because they all got to sit in the same studio, but a lot of the comic guys at the time were spread out all over the country, and they would, they'd visit New York or visit Chicago or L.A. or whatever. And I was in L.A. at the time, and the kind of jobs that I was getting was minuscule. And then when the movie came out, and it was funny because Brad and I talked about this earlier today, but when the movie came out, I wasn't even old enough to go see it.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. You stand outside the theater like a junkie, and you're like, "Hey, did you see the zombies in there? That was me." Tell me what it was like. And,
the one on the right was named Pookie.
Yeah, the ticket taker, they're sitting there going, "Yeah, right. You just want a ticket. No, you can't get it."
I actually drew a picture and wrote an article for Playboy, and I wasn't old enough to buy one either. And I lied about my age, and they sent me this whole thing, and my mother is like, "Why am I getting a W-2 or whatever the hell it is? Why am I getting a W-2 from Playboy Enterprises?" I don't know, Mom.
What Dad do with my new issue?
Yeah, I only read it for the articles.
You know what? Actually, I was just thinking about this. Speaking of heavy metal, have you guys all seen the news? I think it was announced yesterday who their new editor-in-chief is.
I heard, but it went in one ear and out the ass. Everything changes. Everything
that
changes
sounds
so quick.
Painful. You might want to get that checked.
It's it shocked me, and a lot of people think it seems like a great match. It's Grant Morrison.
The new owner or the new editor?
New editor.
That's interesting.
I saw something about it, but I really didn't have time to pay attention to it. Because I'm so slammed, like we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting. If he's going to take a move on it, that's awesome. I really think he'd be a good fit.
Good for him. He'll make his mama proud.
Well, he's actually a lot deeper into that genre than a lot of people know about him. So he does a lot of independent stuff that he posts up in his portfolios and things, and it's a lot darker than most people do. Writing and art both. He's not really known for that, but he's all over the place with it. So I think he'd be great for it.
One qualification that he had that put him over the top on his resume: not married to Julie Strain. Oh, let's invite him in.
Oh,
not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
If we're gonna go there, not yet.
Julie Strain is waiting for the call back. He'll call me someday. But anyway. And I don't know what terrible mess they stepped in, but the second heavy metal movie was just god awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just. I know why they named it FAKK, because they couldn't say FUCK in the beat.
oh.
Wow. Did you guys feel the breeze off that? He didn't pull that punch at all.
No, not at all. No.
Wow.
Was you know what it was? It was when the first one came out, there was an appreciation from the underground that just flew in the faces of what society was. First, we were looking at the European influence from Metal Hurlant, which was the French-based publication for heavy metal.
Absolutely.
And we were looking at all of the stuff that Corbin with Den and on and on and on, all those great pieces being translated and all that beautiful work was representing. We were literally getting, even though their ads used to say it's not a comic book, we were getting a better comic than most of the magazines and most of the publications at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to slant Marvel's incredible work and DC's incredible work, but this was literally comics for the mind. And then when the movie came out, it gave us this incredible rock and roll this intense storyline. It kept everybody going, especially the alien smoking pot with the naked girl on the bed. That just, that was a thinker. But the thing is that the second movie came out, and it was kind of like, let's use clip art and color forms to make the movie, and whatever the soundtrack is, just, drop a recorder down a subway flight of stairs, and that'd be the music, and hell, we've got a movie.
It's kind of hard to imagine the conversation that went something like, the budget that we had for Heavy Metal 1, yeah, that was a little bit too much. We should do it for less this time.
It was all those phone calls to Rusty.
yeah, I broke them. I did, and the stamps too. It was like I sent them American stamps, and I think they got raided, and We're working with the Americans, eh? It was pretty bad working with the enemy. But it was a bad. I'm sorry, it was a bad movie, and anybody that says that's their favorite, I'll send them flowers. It was terrible, man.
Did you work
on
that?
I could use a fresh bouquet for the office. I liked it.
My favorite thing about the original Heavy Metal movie was it didn't suppose anything. You go to see a movie these days and you suppose, hey, it's a Marvel movie and we're going to see a great story and we're going to see a big superhero and blah, blah, blah. We suppose, the new Aerosmith album is great because they've been so great for many years. This came so out of left field.
Right.
And just slapped the face of the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm. And broke all the rules. Awesome.
It was awesome. It was. And the amount of musicians that they got, a lot of that music was literally untraceable. Hey, you want to do a piece for the Heavy Metal movie? Sure. And you got guys like Don Felder sharing the spotlight with Black Sabbath and on, and Devo, God forbid, and hell, the soundtrack was just amazing.
Yeah.
You'd be playing it, and it sounded like you were watching television, and all it was 50 commercials right in a row, because every song was so different. It was like a jingle for the movie, and I think the music was the best part. So it was, I just seriously enjoyed it. You can't find anything like that now.
No.
I dare anybody to find something like that now. And,
Marvel's answer to that was, Marvel tried to answer that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Marvel tried to answer that with the Transformers movie.
Oh God.
And it was a really, I loved that movie, but it was because it was a great story for the Transformers series, but they tried to use the same rock genre and over the top, mid 80s type of thing. Yeah. And boy, did they choke it. Wow.
I didn't know you could make music with explosions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Michael Bay's been trying for years.
I know.
Exactly. And the card hits the table.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't work on the second Heavy Metal movie then, right, Rusty?
No. Let it be known.
All right, but hold on. Speaking of Marvel, you did work on the worst, I think, of the Spider-Man movies.
You know what? I really liked those Spider-Man movies. I loved Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I thought he was awesome as a teen. He grew into the part a little bit. I thought it was great. It was written like it was a comic arc. I didn't care for the second Spider-Man set. I mean, what is it, Garfield? I thought it was terrible. His costume looked like upholstery from the back of a 50s Buick. And it was just, I thought it was crap. There's Uncle Ben, let's not use the Stan Lee line. Let's create something, and I don't know. It just didn't sit.
Yeah, it sounded like that beauty pageant girl who, she said she went on for 4 hours trying to answer that simple question, such as such as.
Well, I think a lot of it was...
Yeah, exactly.
But those movies were Sony trying to, A, hold on to the Spider-Man rights, and B, try to do something different but tell the same story again. Which, you're right, it didn't... A lot of levels it didn't work.
I think that... I like stories that start in the middle. and they give you a little bit of flashback and a little bit of history. I think with Iron Man, Brownie Jr. came in, but I think it was more him. But he came in and they retold the Iron Man story to finish, and it was funny because you were watching him create the armor and you were watching him go through all the But I'm getting tired of seeing Superman's origin. Two people from another planet, they send him to now with all these sites like Trivago and whatever. I think they should have booked him into another planet. But to hell with how Superman grew up. Either let's see Superboy, let's just start him in the middle and go on. A little bit of flashback here and there and move, because the movie public is not stupid,
right.
And the origin stories are boring. It's not the same type of storytelling that people are used to. When I was a kid, I looked at Peter Parker and I said, I understand some of those things he's going through in school, and I identified with those problems. And Clark Kent with his identity of the glasses and, hunched over a little bit and being meek and never getting the girl. Those things rattled around the minds of young collectors at the time, and it meant something. Today, you can't do that kind of storytelling. You couldn't have a Spider-Man #1 right now. You couldn't. So the storytelling effort is different. I don't know. I'm just not seeing the same thing. I love the Marvel movies, though. Don't get me wrong, but I don't care for the reboots. Let's start it over again.
Right.
Blah 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 blah. And I can't stand the Ultimate Universe. I just think that was that was just I don't know what that was. That was just unflushed for a while.
Well,
but
isn't part of storytelling a good story? Isn't part of that showing a character and showing how they grow? And yeah, you're right about the origin stories. I mean, if they had only done it once and they had kept that series going, you could have watched the character go from nothing to growing up, learning his powers, growing, maturing and all that. But the constant reboots are making these origin stories almost meaningless. It's like, yeah, here's how he got bitten by a spider again, but they're not showing any growth anymore. It's just...
But there's a big leap coming up too, though, because we have to watch out for the Marvel stuff, because they just announced in Civil War that Marissa Tomei is going to play Aunt May.
Wow. Yes.
Marissa Tomei?
I know. My jaw hit the floor. I had to get a pallet jack to lift it back up. It was so heavy.
She
at
is
the time.
50, guys.
I know that, but do you see many 50-year-olds that look like that? She is not Aunt May material. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I have her in a thong in my head, and when she says Aunt May, I'm like, Aunt May I?
Oh.
Wow.
But hey, I come from the same time period, so,
You talk about storytelling, I look at it like this. You got a stripper on stage, she's gorgeous, you're entertained, there's participation there. You don't think about, how did you start dancing, by the way? Let's sit down and discuss what your origin story is. The show is, the entertainment is in the show.
Right.
It's not how the war got started. It's how you keep your head down when the bullets are flying. So I see, like, the new Fantastic Four has to be, in my opinion, the biggest unwrapped duty in the market right now, and I just can't understand how they're going to get away with it.
Butt cheeks of boulders, man. I'm telling you, butt cheeks of boulders.
It's not the Fantastic Four.
I don't get it. Somebody needs to, I keep thinking about myself, the Thing is sitting there going, well, I don't need pants because I don't have, and whatever. And I'm sorry, I know that this brands me and everybody gets mad at me, but the whole racial thing bugs me, and, a black Human Torch and, blah, blah, blah. And the whole thing about them being kids and how they rewrote the story. It's really not the Fantastic Four. It's kind of like, the semi-fantastic, group of kids, I mean, it's just dumb. I don't know.
You and I were talking about that the other day. Yeah.
This is probably one of the rejected scripts, and they picked this one up by accident because this is awful.
Well, they picked it up because they needed to keep the license.
Right.
God, they should have made it kittens. It should have been four cats. That's what they should have done. It should have been an animated film with 4 cats. 4 cats go to the pet store, they get hit with cosmic rays, and then boom, that's it. They would have had more they would have had more following with it. It would have been all the kids that like Pokemon, all the people that read Garfield, because I know the comic market's not going to support it.
They could have made it Four Turtles.
Yeah, Four Turtles.
John's still sore about the new Ninja Turtles movie.
Who ever heard of a comic book with Four Turtles anyway?
And for anybody listening out there, just pay attention. You know, we are four white guys, but the thing is, it's not a racial issue. It's just, we don't want to see the continuity mucked up. You know, make great African American characters, make great Latino characters, make great original concepts, and stop mucking with the continuity.
Well, they already have African American. They already have not just African American, but other minority characters that are in the wings just waiting to be used. I mean, why DC does not make a Static Shock movie? I have no freaking clue.
I've asked that same question.
Well,
asked that same question.
Yeah.
The thing with, I think
what somebody needs to do, not to cut you guys off, but I got to tell you, Static Shock, very, very hip hop, very rock and roll. Guys like Icon, they really need a lot of exploring. Black Panther, all the Wesley Snipes bullshit that happened for years that kept the script down and do anything with. Somebody needs to send $1 million to Tony Isabella and say, "Oh my God, we really need a Black Lightning movie," and get that started. Because I got to tell you, every character I see out there, great. Look at Blade, that was really cool, and on and on and on. But for God's sakes, put Black Lightning in front of the whole group, because that had to be, in my opinion, one of the most original characters at the time. And they always say, "Oh, well, these are characters that pandered to racial blah blah blah," and I always think to myself, not this one. This had schmaltz to it. This had skin in the game for DC, and in my opinion, they screwed the pooch with it. But
there's some really interesting continuity out there for that character too.
Yeah,
I've seen him in the animes and on TV. He's been mentioned a couple times.
Yeah, actually, Tony was on our podcast a couple years ago, and
great.
And one of the things that he said was, it was at a convention where he had interviewed a bunch of people. But one of the things he had said is that, you know, he originally had created Luke Cage, or worked on Luke Cage, and it was like, yeah, but he was still a convicted criminal, and he had that all those stereotypes in his background. So when he got a chance to create another character, he's like, let me create an African American character who doesn't have all of those hang-ups and those stereotypes, and that's what he did. And
but the Luke Cage character, it was all right. Nothing wrong with Luke Cage, but they've modeled it so much over the years. You know, first he's Luke Cage, then he's Power Man, then he's, you know, a big coffee drinking motherfucker, and he's got on sunglasses, and he's got a big chain belt, and he's all slim and stuff. And you know, it's like, you know, it's like you know, he's like a spokesman for FUBU. Oh, and then there's Iron Fist. Hi, man. You know, and it's like, you know, it's kind of like they screwed with it so much, it's just permanently screwed.
Well, if you guys are going to jump on here, I'm going to jump in with one too, because I saw this just last night. A lot of people are saying, you know, there's a lot of fan base picking up for the Black Panther movie, but there is a lot of ribbing going on now, saying that now we've got to do a different version and make him an original character, because he is the black version of the Phantom.
Whatever.
They're saying he's the black version of the Phantom now, and they're trying to ridicule and rip that apart. You know, have you guys taken any side note opinions on that? I love the Black Panther character. I think it's a strong, solid character.
Yeah,
No, it is. It's good. Just one thing. I want to mention Cracked.com. They just had an article on the 7th, a couple of days ago from when we're taping this. And they did 5 terrible messages hidden inside every superhero story. And number 5 was black superheroes often start as criminals. And they just pointed out exactly what you were saying, where, you know, if you made a black superhero, he had to have a backstory where he was a criminal first. And
this has been a public service announcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whatever. You know what? Their luck. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. I could lose all my friends on Facebook. You know what? as comic book fans, we're lucky to get anything with quality. So, looking at the Black Panther started out as or Luke Cage, starting out as a criminal. Well, you know what? That's part of the story.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's part of the story. Blade, the Wesley Snipes movies, his mother was a junkie and then she was bitten by a vampire and he had no father and all this other BS that goes along with it. Or Spawn movie was it Michael High White? He had, he was a commando mercenary and all this other stuff. You know what? That's how the stories were written. And I am very fond of this phrase, and I really feel that people have to start catching on to it. But it was appropriate for the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, plain and simple. You don't like the way, that something was written. It doesn't mean that it's offensive. It was written because it was appropriate for the time. If it's offensive to you now, that's you now.
It's an underdog story. It was just written that way, plain and simple.
That's it.
That was the genre they were put in. They were underdogs. And that's what made them so powerful when they came to be who they are now. So
that's why I don't discriminate when I look at a character. I don't care if it's a girl. I don't care if it's a homosexual. I don't care if it's whatever. I don't want to know what's between their legs. I don't want to know what they do in the bedroom. I just want to see Dr. Doom punch Thing in the face or vice versa. I don't give a crap about all that other stuff. My favorite time period was the Golden Age. It's no secret because I do a lot of Golden Age stuff and we run a magazine with Golden Age stuff. And I love the Golden Age Green Lantern. Let's bring him back and make him gay. Well, who the hell's right idea was that? That was the stupidest thing in the world, in my opinion. Let's make Spider-Man black. No, let's make him Spanish. No, let's make him do this. Same costume. He talks to Aunt May and Mary Jane Watson, but he doesn't have the same powers. Well, he might as well be Mongoose Man then, because, who the hell cares what he does? Do you climb buildings? No, but I've got subway tokens. It's like, it's nonsense. I just don't get it. If you have a character that you want to build up, black, white, homosexual, whatever, build it up. Make it earn its cred, its street cred. Put it through its paces. Give it some muscle. Make a great story. Make it believable. Endear yourself as an artist or creator to the fans and build it up. Look at how popular Spider-Man is for all the years that it's been around. And somebody creates a character with a black, with a black face or with a homosexual tendency or something, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, I just put out the first issue last week. Why isn't it a movie? You're not taking me seriously. Oh, yeah, we're taking you pretty seriously, all right. We just threw your book away.
Yeah, I mean, it's I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this.
You shouldn't though, because the opportunity exists for everybody to do something in every industry.
Right.
Let's face it.
But what I was about to
if you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it.
Right. But what I was about to say is changing Spider-Man black, or even Johnny Storm, making him black, or making Peter Parker gay. That's pandering. That's not being creative. That's just trying to make.
And God knows where he's shooting those webs from.
But as you said, and to bring it back full circle, you said endear yourself to the fans. That's what Stan Lee did 50 years ago.
Right.
He became the face of Marvel.
Who is this Stan Lee you speak of?
He interacted with the fans.
That's Jim Lee's uncle.
He started the How many times have I heard that?
We're still going to get hit with lightning tonight. The equipment's just going to blow up and take us all out.
He started the Mighty Marvel Marching Society and all those kinds of things, and made the fans feel like they were more than just fans, And he spent all that time building that up. So let's honor what he built. Let's not just pander to people now.
Just like you said, bringing something full circle. The very much, the Marvel, well, whatever, the Society, there's a tongue twister, but all the stuff that he did, the Excelsior and all that stuff, that was appropriate for the time, because you couldn't do that now. No. You couldn't do that now. You stand out there and, like he did, and lay on your couch naked with Thor over your crotch and take a picture, or stand there in a Spider-Man pose and go Excelsior, and they're going to just lock you up.
I have the Marvel swimsuit issues, okay?
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
The funny thing is so do I. I have all 8 of them. Thank you very much.
I can only look at covers because the pages are stuck together.
And I've actually got them in the poly bags, and they're still sealed because I'm afraid to mess with them because I don't want anyone to steal them. I've cut off all the friends. You know how this goes. You can't touch that.
And for the listening audience, poly bags are not comic book condoms.
No, they are not.
All right, so
go ahead, follow that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. He took it way left field, didn't he? He's out there all by himself catching it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's bring a little bit back. Okay, so let's bring it back to Rusty.
No,
why don't you tell us a little bit about your Mac in Trouble?
Now we got to get serious. Damn it.
You don't have to be serious.
You're the one that wrote it that way.
It's your fault, bro. You showed up. You're in the hot seat. It's time to burn.
Here's our origin story, ladies and gentlemen. Mac in Trouble was kind of a odd creation. I had gotten really badly injured when I was wrestling years ago. I took a bad trauma to my back, so I have a hard time walking around. And I was supposed to be in bed for a couple of years, and my wife had brought home kittens, believe it or not. We were taking care of them for a friend, but they needed to be nursed back to health and on and on and on. One of them was Mac, a tuxedo cat, which, black and white fur. And I had a ball with him. He was a great little cat. And it kind of made me wake up a little bit. I didn't stay in bed. I got up. I started drawing again. I started tooling stuff out again, on and on and on. And basically, Mac in Trouble are real-life cats. And they, it's meant to be teen to adult comedy, but it's not mature. It's more intelligent than mature because I really hate the way comics have gotten so mature. We don't need to see huge boobs. We don't need to see crap language. We don't need to see who's in bed with who and when, why, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be...
That's great. I'm done now. You just disowned my entire comic book line. Catman's a little rough, man. Thanks.
That's the end. I'm going to go play asteroids. But anyway, I created Mac in Trouble to be like non-Disney or non-Warner Brothers characters. They're kind of like the Bing Hope and Bing Crosby and Bob Hope road picture characters. They go to use the litter box and there's a wormhole and they fall through into another part of the universe, and they have all these different adventures with public domain and irregular characters, everybody from Frankenstein to Santa Claus and back and forth. And I've had a lot of luck with it. In the couple of years that I've done a few books. They have news strips. They have their own website, Facebook and Twitter sites. They've appeared in other comic books as well. One of the two characters teleports. So they teleport into another universe. They pop around for a page and then leave. Coming up in Dave Ryan's War of the Independents, there's going to be the comedy issue, and it's drawn by Don Simpson of Savage Megaton fame.
Mm-hmm.
And Mac in Trouble, which was an honor, because that's like, Kirby drawing your baby pictures.
Right.
But it was just an honor to have Simpson do the Mac in Trouble pictures in the War of the Independents. And I was lucky to get in because I came along when the project was already going. He had already been talking to people for years, Dave Ryan. And, he was like, I'd like to put them in, and we put them in. And they're appearing on a couple of pages in some funny spots. Damn lucky, like I said, to get them in. And that's going to be a great series, too. If you have the chance, the War of the Independents is just amazing. Cool. There's so many stars in it. It's not even funny. But I've been lucky to have Mac in Trouble drawn by some incredible professionals. Dan Gorman, who does a lot of licensing trading card work and works for AC Comics. Michael Gracia, who's a amazing animation artist as well. We have a couple of new ones that are coming out very soon, and a big announcement that I'm not allowed to say anything yet for like the next couple of days. So I kind of wish we were talking in a week so I can tell you the
Well,
news.
this doesn't go up till next Wednesday.
Yeah, but you guys are all big mouths.
All right. Okay. All right.
Hey, hold up there now. I
trust.
brought you on the show, dude, and I turned around and did not tell anybody. Now you're going to call me a big mouth?
You told me that I was going to get a hotel room and a hooker, and I didn't get crap. I did.
Well, it's bait and switch, dude. You fell for it. Sorry, man.
He promised the same thing to us, so
It's not in the budget. I told you, it's not in the budget.
The last bait I went for used a switch on me. It was painful, but we'll talk about that another time.
You shouldn't talk about Tara like that. I love this dude's wife, man. She busts his chops and keeps him in line.
Yes. She is my anchor. I'll tell you that a lot of guys will turn around and say, "Oh, my family," but I gotta say, for me, my family literally pushed me and kept me in line and kept me sane. I wouldn't have been here. I'm going to be 50 this year, actually in a couple of months, and I would never have been. I would never be here or be in the profession that I am without my family. It was one of those things where, I'm not in perfect health now, but for a while I couldn't even move. I mean, let's just face it. I was stuck. I couldn't do anything. I wake up in the morning, the whole bit about, take a shower, change, have breakfast, lay back in bed, watch movies all day long because I had to stay immobile. And if it wasn't for that drive from family, I would never be anywhere. Not that I'm anywhere now, but I would never be anywhere. I can only hope and pray that other people have something similar. It's inspiring. It really is.
Well, where's your next appearance going to be, bud?
This weekend, I am going to be signing autographs and doing some entertaining at a restaurant here in Pennsylvania called Shelley's. And I'm going to be with some good friends. One of them is Gene Snitsky, the wrestler from WWE. There's going to be some of the newscasters from WNEP and some other television and sports stars. We're signing for breast cancer.
Nice.
My Facebook page is open and for everybody to see. It's public, so you can look at the banner on the top of the page. After that, I do about 25 to 30 shows a year of all different kinds. Everybody knows that they can rely on me. I'll come bringing free trading cards and, free prints and things like that. And I entertain a lot at the table. So, I really enjoy it. I have August 1st, I have the Haunt Fair in New York. And August 9th, I have the Jersey Shore Show in Flemington, New Jersey. And Inconceivable in Massachusetts, RockCon in New York, Mid-Atlantic Nostalgia Con in Maryland. The big one is my Rhode Island Comic Con. I love those guys. So this is the best part of the year, but I've done some great shows already.
Yeah.
He won't say it, but I will. Bring pork rinds.
Yes. Yes. That's probably one of the funniest things that I've ever done. I used to tell people, bring pork rinds and I'll give you a special print. I have a print where Mac and Trouble are running away from pork rinds, and it says, "Thanks for bringing these." And I actually, at least once or twice a show, I get people bringing pork rinds. And I'm not shy. I mean, I'll break the crap open and start eating them. And I give them the print, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so cool!" And I don't see people doing that. But I try to be very entertaining. I try to be very filled with jokes, and I look people right in the eye and play with them at the table. And I love audience participation. I do card tricks and whatever. And I'm lucky because when I go to shows, I don't get the crabby, people, crabby like audience member that walks up, "Let me look at your prints. Oh, that's too much. Goodbye." Whatever. I get to fool around with a lot of the people. So they invite me to these shows, and it's like Christmas every day of the year when I get to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you said you're on Facebook. I'm sure people can just search for Rusty Gilligan. How about you're on the Twitter?
There's thousands of us, but I'm the only one.
But are you on Twitter? Do you have a...
Yeah, it's at Mac in Trouble. How original. They also have their own website, macintrouble.com, which is going to be revamped. Right now it's basically an artist site with a lot of art up there and some old news, but we're revamping it. They have their own Facebook, Mac in Trouble as well. And one of the other things that I do is aside from being a comic artist, I'm also a minister, so I marry people live at comic book shows, and I actually have a page for being a minister as well on Facebook, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, actually, I did see some of those pictures, and I was going to ask you about that. So, is that something people just come up and ask you at the show, or do you have to arrange that beforehand?
Try to arrange it beforehand, because one of the big problems is, they got a licensing, and they'll get their license and they got to wait 3 days or 5 minutes or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I get a lot of people that want to get married in cosplay. I get a lot of people who want funny weddings. And one of the best ones I did was I did a country wedding in front of the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard at Amazicon. And I did it with a country voice and an accent and the whole bit. And literally, ceremony was only supposed to be about 8 minutes. I turned it into like a half-hour comedy thing. And the crowd just built and built and built, and it was just awesome. I do, You May Now Kiss the Bride, and people were like clapping and cheering. It was hysterical. But I've done Marvel comic weddings, Doctor Who weddings. Actually, I have another Doctor Who coming up. Married Batman and Robin, married Batman, Wonder Woman. Geez, Batman gets around. But right after the ban was lifted, that's what I call it, and they, allowed same-sex marriages, I performed one of the first ones at the Rhode Island Comic Con last year. And awesome. I did 7 weddings last year during the 3 days.
Wow. That must keep you busy.
It's a lot of fun. Usually you could go to get a minister, and it's very expensive, hundreds of dollars. They don't do as much as what I do. I give them a custom certificate. I do all their paperwork, and I give them the comedy wedding or the drama wedding, whatever they want. And I do it for a fraction. And the great thing, if you do it at a show, it's got like a built-in audience there.
Right.
So we did the Doctor Who wedding, and right after a groom kissed the bride, a whole bunch of Klingon cosplayers walked up, and they're like, "Let's take the bride," and they're like doing this big cosplay thing. "Oh no, I'm about to be kidnapped," and "Oh, let's get the doctor to pull out his screwdriver and whatever," and they're like doing this thing, and I'm standing there going, "Yep, I got paid. I could stand here for and then they walk in the TARDIS, and then they disappear, and they're like, "Oh, they must be honeymooning on Gallifrey," and that's whatever. But the thing is that it's their day. And if they don't want to throw rice and they don't want to walk down the aisle with a 20-foot-long train and whatever, hey, it's their day,
yes.
So it's those memories that get built up. Comics, thank God, have progressed past a bland comic show and turned into a pop culture show. So it's like going to a mall. Every table is a different store. And, you could see everything from comic books, but also video games, trading cards, media, et cetera, and you don't see just one person liking one thing. And when I do these weddings, it's just phenomenal, the crossover, like the Klingons coming up to the Doctor Who, or, marrying the couple in front of the Batmobile, and then the Penguins walking by, whack, 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 and
did you hear that, John? It's okay to like more than one thing, DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
wasn't sure about that.
And everyone.
Yes, DC stands for deceptively cool. You believe that, right?
Everyone needs, also look out for. There's going to be a big wedding at a convention coming up. John and Brad are finally going to tie the knot. It's going to be great. Wow. And Rusty's going to perform the ceremony,
See, Rusty, you didn't let the secret out, but Dave, man, come on. We're still going to be hashing you on the side, so, hey.
This is why Rusty isn't telling us anything, Dave.
Tie the knot. Well,
around Dave's neck.
I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. The people are great. They're, we did one at Rhode Island a couple of years ago, and it was done in front of the Rancor statue from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It was a couple of stories tall, and they made it roar just as they, did their I do's. And it's a great thing. Other people obviously have the ability of doing it. It stinks when you find out that some of the guys that are doing stuff are like the $5 internet guys. Automatically I found God, paid $5, and my printer made me a minister. But but the thing is that it's not like there's no corner of the market on it. But I enjoy it. I do, and I've had nothing but good responses, letters to the promoters thanking them and thanking me, and on and on and on. And I'll keep doing it. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes when you get called to a show, it could be for one credit or another, or just because you're a pro or whatever. There have been a few shows where I've gotten called just for that, which is kind of funny.
Cool. So,
yeah.
All right. I actually think we're like at an hour and 20 minutes now, so I think this is a good place to put a pin in it. I don't know if you have anything else you want to plug before we wrap it up, Rusty.
No.
How about you, Brad? You got anything new to plug?
Nah, man, the damage is done. We're ready.
No, Brad, he no here right now. He not here.
And John, you want to tell us all about your honeymoon plans for Tahiti with you and Brad? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Tahiti, yes. There you go.
See, John, he's just jealous. I told you he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
The best man position is taken. You're off the chart. We'll put Rusty on. It'll be great.
Photos or it never happened.
All right. Well, I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
I have no shame, people, but I'm happily married. Thank you very much. But yeah, we are going to keep it going. So
on that note,
good.
As I say every week, don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.
Okay, now it's my turn. Okay, what are you doing? Taking over Dad's mic so I can be part of superhero speak. Duh. Well, there are better ways to join the conversation. Really? Like what? Well, you can interact with them on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and even Pinterest. Wait, people use Pinterest? And what's Google+? I don't know, something to do with circles. Anyway, you can also see all their posts, including comic book reviews, on their website, where you can also sign up for their mailing list. Cool! Yep, are you still going to try to hijack Dad's mic? Nope, I'm going to try to answer the stump the key question. Nice. So who do you think would win in a fight between Rainbow Dash and Squirrel Girl? Oh, that's a hard one. Oh no, Dad's waking up. My
Oh, what are you guys doing? That cape's gonna get caught on the door.